Okay, here's part two, where I was discussing Bad Education, the movie, with Hugh Grant. No, that's a different Hugh. Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney. And it's about the superintendent and his business administrator who embezzled lots of money. And um, one of the things in this movie that I think is really interesting is that the superintendent, who is a real person, by the way, and I can't remember his name right now, but it doesn't matter. He actually is gay, and that's really not that important to the story, other than the fact that it's part of the story. I mean, part of his story. It's part of who he is and was. But I think it's interesting that it's kind of presented in a salacious way in this particular movie, which harkens back to some of the arguments that I made earlier in an earlier um, posting about the discrimination, the treatment, the perception of LGBTQ plus individuals in education. I don't think that we're on a level playing field when it comes to education. Far from it. I think the way that LGBTQ plus individuals are perceived in education is not where it needs to be. It's not positive. Um, and that's something that we need to continue to work on as we explore issues of equity in schools and public education settings. In this particular context, there is even, a salacious, an even more salacious aspect given to the fact that he's gay because he connects with a former student who's now an adult, and this former student becomes his lover, which that's not even true. That wasn't even part of real life. I mean, most of the other facts in the movie are accurate, but this is something totally made up for the benefit of the movie. And why would you put that in there? Why would you make that part of the plot unless you were trying to, in some ways, use his homosexuality as even more fodder against him, if that makes any sense. So it's troubling. It's troubling from that standpoint. But I think in terms of education, I talked about the fact that it presents this facade that we all sort of collectively agree to maintain without letting people see what's really going on. We don't want people to see what's really going on. And, I think that teachers think that they're constantly criticized now. I think that actually teachers are really held up by the community. I mean, I think that parents, by and large, love their teachers. They think their teachers are great. They think their schools, their neighborhood schools are great. Um, and I think it's because we continue this facade and we need to be honest and transparent and work to improve things so that we can actually show some better results. And to me, that's what this movie was really all about. Just the lengths that an education system will go to maintain an image when there are things that definitely need correcting going on underneath. I mean, there are leaks happening in the buildings. In bad education, these leaks have been overlooked because there are all these efforts to try to present how wonderful the district is and how many kids are going on to Ivy League colleges and universities. And I just think that it's important to recognize all the good that's going on in education, and there is good, and to make sure that we're fixing the leaks in the system because there are, and I don't mean leaks like people sharing information, I'm talking about the dysfunction in our system that continues, that allows certain kids, certain groups of kids, not to succeed as well as they should. So, yeah, watch Bad Education. I think this is actually a movie that adds to the education dialogue. And thanks for listening.